Well, good evening, everyone. This is the pre-council meeting of the City of Joliet with Mayor Terry Darcy presiding on Monday, June 17th, 2024 at 5:30. Please call the roll.
Councilman Cardenas.
Here.
Councilman Clement.
Here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
Mayor Darcy.
Here.
If I may, I want to correct the time. We're starting at 5:44 as the previous meeting went overtime, for the record.
First, we'll begin with presentations. The first presentation is Joliet Comprehensive Plan, Jim Torrey, Planning Director, and Jane Bernhard, Planning Department Planner.
Are we working on getting the presentation up?
Presentation up.
Coming, yeah.
I think our meeting messed everybody up.
So Jane, can you sing or dance?
Say it's a great presentation.
How'd you hurt your wrist?
Too much typing and reaching and
Display.
I don't know.
Yard
It's a
work.
long time coming. Apparently it's got to
Oh,
take.
tell us the real story.
Yeah, well, maybe afterwards. All right, thank you. Jim, Torrey, and I are excited to be here tonight to officially introduce the Joliet Comprehensive Plan project to you and the public. So there are 3 items on your council agenda tonight pertaining, and tomorrow night, pertaining to the future Joliet citywide comprehensive plan. And these were reviewed by the Land Use and Economic Development Committee at their May 29th meeting and were unanimously recommended to the full council tonight. We will highlight these agenda items and be available for questions, and I'll note the consultant teams that are referenced will be available tomorrow evening should you have any questions you would like to speak to them directly about. What is a comprehensive plan? A comprehensive plan is a blueprint for future land use planning decisions, and this document will be centered on the values and priorities of Joliet's residents and will be responsive to new opportunities and challenges. This plan, the first in over 60 years, will be future-focused and will shape the city of Joliet for years to come. Some background information. Over the past few years, the city has been working on launching a citywide comprehensive plan. The city issued a request for proposals for this plan in October of 2022, and 6 qualifications were returned to the city. An RFQ evaluation committee comprised of city staff from 5 divisions and departments evaluated the qualification submittals and conducted interviews with the top 3 firms. We did that in December of 2022. And after conducting these interviews, the evaluation committee felt that Lamar Johnson Collaborative's qualifications best met the desired outcomes for this project and had the most relevant experience for this project. The city then requested a proposal from Lamar Johnson Collaborative, which is also known as the scope of work. And then city staff with Lamar Johnson Collaborative worked together to refine this proposal to best meet our needs. So I'm going to focus now on the Lamar Johnson Collaborative's proposal. Staff recommends Lamar Johnson Collaborative because they have an intimate familiarity with Joliet, for their urban design and integrated policy focus, their future forward focus, their culturally responsive planning approach, and their results and implementation focused approach with continuity and phasing. Staff recommends this firm because they are differentiated, they will activate original thought, new approaches, and design principles. The firm is dynamic in their approaches, and they will position Joliet for transformative and inclusive growth, sustainable development, and equitable prosperity. This firm is innovative, and they will create urban design best practices and policy solutions that position Joliet nationally and internationally. Who is Lamar Johnson Collaborative? They are a full-service architecture, planning, and design firm with 5 offices nationwide. And as the design arm for Clayco, which is a real estate, architecture, engineering, design, build, construction firm, Lamar Johnson Collaborative, they bring a integrated approach to their projects. The Lamar Johnson Collaborative's team includes the following expertise. So you have Lamar Johnson Collaborative, they would be the lead planning consultant and project manager. And they also bring their expertise in urban design, planning, and overall land use analysis. With them on their team is SB Friedman Development Advisors, and they would be conducting the market analysis and then working on the economic development component of this planning project. Muse is a bilingual, multicultural, public engagement and outreach planning firm, and they will be brought in to support planning and outreach engagement activities. Biohabitats is going to offer ecological design and natural resource management expertise. And Twig, which is a civil engineering company, will offer multimodal transportation planning analysis. Each of these firms on this team have an office in the Chicagoland area and come highly recommended from our planning colleagues and other communities. Lamar Johnson Collaborative proposes a planning process that uncovers community need and is responsive to a variety of perspectives and positions. They will approach this project with sensitivity and level of detail that is transformative. They propose a 5-phase process to complete the comprehensive plan, and this planning process is iterative, and each phase builds on the preceding. And each phase does include public engagement activities and associated deliverables. Each phase also includes advisory committee, working group meetings, and city council involvement. With a solid grounding in public and civic engagement, the Lamar Johnson Collaborative team understands the value of empowering residents to shape the future of their communities. This project will create plan champions. The Lamar Johnson Collaborative proposal involves a number of meetings, outreach, and engagement activities. We'll scroll through these. They will meet residents where they are. They will employ virtual engagement such as surveys, and they will also utilize social network connections. And they will work in partnership with city to create strategies to actively include those not traditionally involved in the planning process, including youth, students, non-native English speakers, shift workers, and more. Here's a breakdown of the costs by project phase. The total project fee to Lamar Johnson Collaborative for their proposal is $564,250. And they have suggested that the city budget an additional $16,750, which is about 3% of the total project cost, to cover any direct costs and additional expenses. So the estimated total for this comprehensive plan project for the Lamar Johnson Collaborative proposal is around $581,000. Now I'll highlight the specialized economic analysis that is proposed for the first phase of the overall comprehensive plan. Urban 3 is a data-driven consulting firm that specializes in land value economics, property tax analysis, and community design. Since the city also desires a robust and sound economic and fiscal analysis as part of this overall comprehensive plan project, the city requested that Urban 3 submit a proposal for conducting a specialized economic analysis that evaluates the city's financial health as it relates to the built environment. Urban 3 offers a proprietary model. They were the first firm to ever visualize a community's value per acre and illustrate the impacts of land use on municipal economic health in 3D. They are also the first firm in the world to visualize the cost of infrastructure on a parcel level citywide basis in 3D. Urban 3 analyzes the fiscal implications of different development patterns down to the level of individual parcels, but at the scale of entire communities. Their method simplifies complex information to include everyone in real conversations about community growth. And through mapping and visualizing the financial health of Joliet, this will help policymakers and practitioners prioritize capital improvements and community design decisions. This economic analysis will consist of 4 phases. First is revenue modeling and analysis. Then they will do a fiscal audit analysis, followed by a fiscal mapping analysis, and then phase 4 will result in reports and final presentations. And again, this would be completed during the first phase of the comprehensive plan project, and it would inform the overall existing conditions analysis of the comprehensive plan, as well as inform the final recommendations of the comprehensive plan. And then on this slide is a breakdown of costs associated with this economic analysis. Urban 3's fee proposal for this project is $138,768. The Joliet Arsenal Development Authority is offering grant assistance in the amount of $75,000, which would bring the total amount to the city for this project at $63,768. Wait, I always mess
That's
this
right.
up. Yes, okay.
You got it.
I got it. So there is that. So, in conclusion, this brings me to the end of our presentation on the proposed Joliet Comprehensive Plan. And then in terms of next steps, following the execution of any agreements, staff will meet with the project managers for the consultant teams to develop this project schedule. And then engagement with the public, community stakeholders, and the mayor and council will be a critical part of this planning process. And additional details on that will be forthcoming, and staff will provide the mayor and council with regular updates throughout the duration of this project. And then Jim, myself, and my colleagues here are happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Can you tell me again the start to finish on this? I know once it's approved, it would start in what, 30 days? What would be that timeline?
That's not determined fully, but
Okay.
we see that likely. We have to then, once this is approved, we'll re-engage with Lamar Johnson, and depending on their schedule will depend how quickly it could start. So it could start even sooner than that possibly.
Okay, so we're looking at the second half of this year, then all of 25, and then something into 26, is that correct?
That's right,
Okay.
yes. About 18 to 24 months, I think, is
Okay.
full project timeline.
What's the time on Urban 3 to bring their start to finish, do you know?
10 months is the extent of what they see their timeline being.
Okay. And we'll be able to run parallel with Lamar Johnson in that 10-month window as they're working their program too, correct?
That's correct. The way we see this, Urban 3's report will be useful, existing conditions, information, much like our other plans that exist, Southside Plan, Kendall County Comprehensive Plan. They'll be utilized as existing conditions and will be incorporated into the overall comprehensive plan.
As we look at this, I think Larry Johnson last meeting mentioned that there was a quality of life plan from 2017. There have been other plans done, and I think, are they all on a shelf somewhere? How do they incorporate into this, or do they?
Well, yeah, that will be one of the first steps that Lamar Johnson will have to look at our existing plans and see what has worked and maybe what hasn't. Obviously, if it hasn't been working, we want to know why or what didn't get done maybe to make it work right. But to take obviously the useful parts of those plans and incorporate it into what they see going forward in the future.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mayor. There were 6 people responding to the RFQ. Before we normally put our RFQs, we establish a scope. It seems like we did it backwards there. We put our RFQ and decided who it would be, and then they're going to develop the scope for us with you guys?
Well,
In 2019, what I'm saying is it came before the council and before committee ahead of time to get it ready for RFQ. But this time, we didn't hear about it until it was
2019 was the past proposal.
Right.
And then we engaged Ratio consultants, and then unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we did not fully get started.
No, Ratio pulled out after the pandemic, that they got rid of
Yes.
that as part of their
Mhm.
menu of All I'm saying, so we did get, as I requested, and I appreciate it, Krista, I think you sent it. Oh, she's not here.
I sent it.
Well, the email came from Krista Desiderio. But anyways, could you send us the list of all 6?
Sure, and they're on your staff report.
Right, but with the details and so forth in the RFQ that went out.
You want each response to the RFQ from each consultant?
Please.
Okay, we could do that.
Now, I don't know, it seems like the last one we did in 2019, it was an RFQ as well, but it also had a proposed not to exceed amount attached to it. Do these have a proposed not to exceed amount?
We had a hope that we could meet a $250,000 budget when we went with the RFQ, with the additional caveat that there could be a way to exceed that if need be. So once we engaged the consultant, the desired consultant, we realized that what we got back for the 250 was no public engagement, which we did not think that the council would want. So by re-engaging with the consultant and fine-tuning their scope, we got to this larger amount, but it had largely to do with public engagement, additional meetings being needed, we felt, and sub-area planning was also a part of that, where they would give detailed plans for 4 sub-areas in the city, yet to be determined. So all of that added to those costs beyond the original hope of $250,000. And frankly, from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, those costs have gone up just like most everything else. We know adjacent communities, for instance, like Village of Plainfield, are just amending their plan, and it was almost at $200,000 is what we understand. So just to amend existing plans, not start one that we haven't had for 60 years, are almost at the point where we thought we could do a whole plan, but realized that was not feasible.
Now, are there other communities in Illinois that this company has done it for, that we might be able
Yes.
to talk with? And you can send us that list as well to the reference or client list?
Sure, and we did reach out to those communities, Oak Park, Aurora,
Aurora, Buffalo Grove.
Chicago. Chicago,
yeah.
they were heavily involved with their plan. And what, again, they thought, I think they were gonna do a comprehensive plan, and once they got involved, that it was changed to a more neighborhood-oriented
Visioning
plan.
yeah.
So the proposed total amount, when it comes to the financial side, would be this company as well as Urban added together.
That's what
Yes.
the recommendation is, yes.
Mhm.
If you could send that information to us that I requested, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
Consultants and, yeah.
Any other questions?
Quick question. You may or may not know this. How long ago was Aurora's comprehensive plan put by these folks?
So they did not do a comprehensive plan, so Lamar Johnson Collaborative put Aurora as a reference for their work doing design guidelines, and we spoke with their staff, and they said, gave glowing review of Lamar Johnson Collaborative for their work on the targeted design guidelines for an area of their city, and stated that Lamar Johnson Collaborative led a robust civic engagement, public outreach effort, then with a design component to it. Aurora has not done a comprehensive plan, and I talked to their economic development director a couple times about this, and they are not intending to. They do sub-area planning.
Well, you mentioned them as a, as one of the cities that had talked to these folks before.
Well, yes, because they worked very closely with the 2 principals of Lamar Johnson Collaborative who are poised for this project. So we wanted to get direct feedback on how those 2 individuals, worked well with city staff and the public,
So was that recently or a couple of years, 3 years ago?
I can look, yeah, it was in their, it's listed in their RFQ submittal, which was a part of the council memo packet, but we could send it directly to you and find out.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to have it on the record that public engagement and public outreach is the most important part. We as leaders can have all the best ideas for our districts or the community, but without hearing from the public and public engagement, we can have all the best ideas and you put that into practical use and they're not getting anything they want. So that is a very important part for me. Thank you.
I think it's important to note too, Councilwoman, that a big portion of the money that we'll spend on this comprehensive plan goes towards all those community engagement meetings, because we have to listen to everyone's voice, and so that's how we, end up with a little higher number. But we have to make sure we're hearing all of our communities, so it's really imperative.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, can I?
Sure.
I just want to make a comment on the Urban 3. I think I'm really excited about that one, just because it does give us a real-time view of what we're at as a city right now, where we're, our tax dollars, whether it's property tax or sales tax, which is going to kind of work together in collaboration with the comprehensive plan, because I say it, and maybe it's not the right way to say it, but I look at the comprehensive plan as our dream of what we want or what the community wants and what we want to look like. But then Urban 3 study will show us if that's even something that generates, where we can generate tax revenue and sales tax revenue and things like that. So it'll help us, put it all together. So I'm excited for that Urban 3 to be in collaboration with it.
Any other comments? I want to say that you two have done a lot of work on this, and we really appreciate it. I know this journey started in '22, and there's a lot of work involved. And I just want to say thank you to both of you. This is an investment that the city needs, and you've done a great job putting this together for us. Thank you.
Great job, guys. Thank you.
Next, we do have another presentation for Entryway Landscaping Improvement Project with Greg Ruddy, Director of Public Works, and Joe Nordman, Roadways Engineer.
Good evening. On tonight's pre-council agenda, as well as tomorrow night's city council meeting, there is an item to award a contract, purchase materials, and amend the budget for the entryway beautification project. So this is an item that we've heard a lot from residents, neighborhood groups, and as well as city council members, that they would like to see completed. There's a lot of entryway monuments into the city, some large, some small. This particular project is going to focus on the larger monuments. I think they were originally called quarter rounds when they were installed, but that you see in a lot of the major intersections. And I'm going to step through the location. So this project is going to include the purchase and the installation of new flowers and plants, a mix of perennials and annuals, so that there'll be kind of year-long interest as the flowers come and go. We looked at, again, the various locations, selected these ones. These are the more major locations. Oh, I should also say that this contract will include maintenance of these locations for year one. In future years, we will have to budget operations funding to take care of these. So I'll step through these locations. I'll try and do it quickly. So here's an overall map of the 13 identified locations as part of this contract. You can see it's a broad range going from west to east. There's a number in the center of the town. And again, they're typically at major intersection or entryway locations. First location is Six Corners, and there are 6 corners here, but 2 of those have businesses on them, so we're focusing on the other 4 locations. And I'll run through the overall plan, and then Joe can kind of talk about the plant and flower selection. If you're interested in that, Joe's been the lead on this project. So there's 4 locations here. On the right side, you can see a street view of it, and then you can kind of see what the proposed plantings are. This one needs some work, obviously. There's some greenery there, but not a lot of visual interest. And the same with these other locations. Another location, Chicago Street at 5th Avenue, coming into the city from Interstate 80. We plan on doing something here. We did just a couple of days ago, however, receive a request from IDOT that they're looking to obtain some easements here for the Interstate 80 project. Had a email exchange with the lead property acquisition person for them today, so it doesn't sound like they're gonna be affecting this monument, but maybe some of the plantings that are further to the south here. So this is a location that needs a little closer look and analysis before we go forward with this one. It's on this contract, but if we need to dial it back, because IDOT needs to do something there, we will. We obviously don't want to spend money here this year, and then a year or two down the road, IDOT comes in and pulls out. So I just want to give you that information. Center and Marion Street, it's another entryway off Interstate 80. It's kind of one of the entrances to the St. Pat's neighborhood. This is one of the larger ones that we have, and again, you can see it needs some help. Larkin and McDonough, this is one we hear a lot about, the Larkin Avenue corridor. It's kind of by the Bob Evans or whatever, is that Louis Brothers now? I'm not quite sure. But that's one of the locations. The Broadway Greenway, where the Route 66 signage is, we're looking at doing that one. Larkin and Theodore, this is coming into the city from Crest Hill at the Vasa Fitness, is up on the top of the hill there. That's a location, again, can use some help. Route 6 in Gower, this is on the far east side of the city. We do get a decent amount of traffic through there. This one is very plain, and I'm not sure if flowers have ever been planted there, but we're looking at doing something significant there. Jefferson Street by the Park District Airport, another location. Black Road and Bronk Road coming into the city from the west near Shorewood. Again, you don't see a lot of color there. Route 59 and Caton Farm Road at the Wedgewood Golf Course. And those are all the locations. So we did go out to bid for this. Bids came in significantly higher than expected. We talked to both our consultant and the contractor on why they thought that might have happened. And the contractor indicated that because we had so many locations, mobilization was what was driving up the cost. So the fact that they have to go from site to site to site. There's something in landscaping called the rule of thumb, the rule of 3, where the cost of the materials, you want to multiply that by 3 times, and that'll get you close to the cost of the actual labor to install it. And that's what we based our estimate off. But again, after speaking to the contractor, because there are 13 different locations here, they feel that's what drove the cost up. So the actions we're looking for are the award of contract for the purchase of the materials, award of a contract to install and maintain them for year 1, and then a budget amendment to complete this work. One final thing I'll say is that these are the most high-profile locations. Joe has identified a number of other smaller locations that are quite as grand as these or as large. In future years, we would intend to come back seeking capital funds to improve those locations as well. There's one at Old Prison at Collins Street. You know, what is it? Yeah, Cass Street coming in from the east. Rayner and Jefferson. That's a location we get a lot
Many
of
calls on, which I've received.
Yeah, St. Pat's Neighborhood Association has called about that one. Again, these are locations we would like to do in the future. We're addressing the large ones now. We don't have unlimited funding, obviously, to be able to address them all in year 1. So with that, I can answer any questions, or if you have questions on the specific plantings we're looking at doing, Joe might be able to better answer those.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Just looking at these photos, I think I'm remembering this correctly. Didn't we used to have bronze statues at least 59 and the one on Bronk Road?
Friends of Community Public Art had installed locations or statues at some of these locations over the years. Those were damaged, and some of them have been removed. I don't know if specifically they were at these locations. There's one at 6 Corners, I know. I'm thinking of other locations.
These are actually like people.
Mayor,
I think
I
there
know
was
which
like
one you're talking about.
Yeah.
The Park District, when they sold that piece of property to the automobile store, they moved the family raising the flag and they moved that to their entrance to their golf course. So that's where those statues are. I knew you were gonna say that, so I'm like, that's the one. That's the only, because I was disappointed as well, because that was great there at that corner, but
All right.
they have new cars there now.
I guess I was
that.
remembering correctly there. At least that's pretty good.
And it's not the Darcy.
No, we'll get that statue back from the Park District. We'll get on Brad about that. I didn't know they borrowed that from us.
They
That was
moved
on
it.
loan.
Yeah, well, that's where it
We'll
is.
move back.
Get it, go get it.
I know that, looking at this, I'm sorry, you have a question?
Oh, can I ask
Go
a
ahead.
question really quick? I don't know, I don't have my glasses on, but looking at some of these, is there something that happened to the flags? I don't see flags at a lot of these. There's the poles, but I don't see flags.
So I know at some of these locations, a number of years ago, there was concerns about proper
Lights.
lighting on the flags.
Okay.
And some of those locations, the flags were changed around in order to comply with, flag code, that type of thing.
Okay.
On these specific ones, I'm not sure why there are not flags there in the photos when these were taken from Google Street View, but we did get funding in our budget this year, operational funding to address flagpole issues and flags. So in the past, we've kind of done that internally, and there's a delay. And with Joe's advice, we went out and we have a contract. So now, if we have a flagpole issue or a flag issue, we make a phone call and it's kind of addressed.
Fire, PD, everybody makes a call, same place, and it takes it out of their budget and gets it fixed immediately.
Okay, thank you.
So anybody else got any questions?
One.
ahead.
I think it was here on the Route 6 in Calgary Road, and then also the Chicago Street, seeing that there's solar panels in the design there. Are those currently there? Are those going to be installed? And if so, what are they powering?
I think those solar panels, and I know Route 6 in Galway, there was no electric nearby, and the solar panel was an attempt to get some lighting there on the US flag. I don't think it is it's not part of this contract that we're doing now. We looked into extending electric there to get the lighting, and it was a significant amount, so I think the solar was an attempt to get lighting on some of those flags.
Anybody else? So I have a quick question. So a lot of this is perennial. And I know that 4 years ago, I did an entrance at the GMC store and I invested $50,000 and I thought it was an awful lot of money. And 4 years later, it looks better than it did the year we put it in because it's grown and it's prospered, and we don't have to maintenance as hard as we used to because in the natural it's all rooted in tightly. So is a lot of this going to be perennial like that once it's 3 or 4 years out, it's pretty much on its own and will continue to prosper?
Joe would probably be able to answer that better.
Yes, Mayor, it's almost all perennials, and we're doing some more bulb planting in the fall too. The big alliums, the big Dr. Seuss balls, my favorite. Those are going in the fall, and those will come out in the springtime. But the majority of we went back and forth with annuals and perennials. The perennials are better. We're trying to use the existing ground cover that we have, trying to fill it in, and you're absolutely right. Give it a couple years, we won't even have to mulch it anymore because everybody's going to fill in. So this is a beautiful project. It's a great opportunity for the city to go out there and say, hey, we can start making this stuff look really good. And I know there's some areas we still need to do in other places. I will not hesitate to at least ask for the funding to do these other areas, but we can't do everything right now. I think it's just a really good opportunity to go ahead and move forward in this adventure here.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone who would like to address the council regarding an agenda item?
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Phil Soto, you probably know me from Bishop's Hill, but I have another project, 515 Summit, existing building from 1865 that we're looking to get a variation of use for 5 residential units to help bring back the building. So just wonder if there's any questions on that project.
Well, I know what you're going to do, and it's going to be great, as long as we approve it, right? Anybody have any questions on it, though?
Why only 5? A building could have
Well,
55 probably in it.
Ask Jim Torrey.
Boy.
What are you doing, Tori?
I don't know, why he's pointing at me. Because we can easily do more. And, well,
there's no questions,
Well, I'm gonna ask a question, and if you could do more, is it because of, the density, or what Jim would've held him back from doing a few more?
I mean, he's asking for the variation of use now for 5. He doesn't have the right zoning for 5 units, so, you know, I don't remember any more units being discussed.
Okay.
You know, this was his original proposal. I think he's got some other creative ideas in mind for the building that you may see coming back in the future, but yeah, he had more units in mind. He
Okay.
didn't ask, or at least I don't remember that. So,
Well, you've done a great
Okay.
job with everything, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on an agenda item? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to the city manager to review the agendas for tomorrow's meeting.
We don't do that. Okay. Okay, we'll start with Council Memo 29124, award of contract for the Richmond Street roadway improvement project to PT Farrow Construction in the amount of $540,786.10. Council Memo 29224, professional services agreement for the 2025 sanitary sewer rehabilitation program to RJN Group, Inc. in the amount of $95,700. Council Memo 29324, approve purchase of a replacement pump for the West Park Lift Station from Metropolitan Industries in the amount of $57,470. Council Memo 29424, purchase of 3 F550 chassis for roadways for $211,269. Council Memo 29524, purchase of 3 Kenworth large dump trucks from Henderson Products, Inc. for $849,201. Council Memo 29624, approve payment of the 2024 wastewater discharge permit fees to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency in the amount of $152,500. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? If none, moving on to agenda items. Council Memo 29724. We have to pull this item. We have some pre-qualification issues with IDOT that we are resolving, so for the time being, we need to pull this item. Council Memo 29824, agreements associated with the citywide comprehensive plan. You heard about that earlier. Any questions on agenda items? If not, moving on to license and permit applications. Council Memo 324, application for a drive-through permit for a Jimmy John's restaurant at 7801 Caton Farm Road. If no questions on any of that, I'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. Ordinances, Council Memo 30224, an ordinance amending the 2024 City of Joliet annual budget for the entryway bed landscaping improvement project, the award of contracts, and the purchase of material, which is what you just heard from Greg and Joe on.
Beth, can we stop a minute?
Yes, sir.
So the ask for that is 250,000 in addition to the budget, is that right, Ken?
That's correct.
Okay. Does everybody understand the math on that? As you look at it, there's a lot of math in that thing. I just want to make sure everybody's understanding that we're amending the budget by $250,000 for the investment in 13 entryways.
Moving on, Council Memo 30324, ordinance to establish the Grand Prairie Water Commission, approve an intergovernmental agreement and a water supply agreement, appoint representatives to the commission, authorize approval of bylaws and a program management agreement, and other related matters. Council Memo 30424, ordinance approving a variation of use to allow a 5-unit residence in an R3 zoning district located at 515 Summit Street. And petitioner was here and spoke on it answered your questions. Any other questions on those items?
Well, I do have a question now. I was wondering, the neighborhoods around the neighborhood organizations around there sometimes are against more multiple units when it's R1 or R2 and R3.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering if they have gone and talked to the different neighborhood groups, because a lot of them do that.
I don't see the
He's
petitioner
gone
here
now,
anymore,
but I
but
was,
Jane,
you know.
do you have independent knowledge of that?
I don't believe they did, that it was discussed, but I don't believe Phil did talk to the neighborhood group. Oh, he did?
I mean, that's usually a big deal, and they've done that before.
Oh, I guess he didn't have a neighborhood meeting, but he went to their organized meeting? Okay.
Yeah, that's why my question,
Sorry-
did he
sorry
go to
about
their
that.
different meetings? Because there's like 3 neighborhoods, I think, that are involved in that. 3 neighborhood organizations. That's all I want to know, because they're usually the ones that are saying, no, 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 no.
That's a good question.
I mean, my understanding from Phil is he had direct contact with Candace Johnson and Sarah Stovall as the leaders of the Bicentennial Bluffs Neighborhood Association, and that building is actually fully within their, territory, so,
Right.
I don't know if he had conversations with Kappa, but it's that building is actually in the Bicentennial Bluffs planning area, so. But I do know those 2, I think
Well, I haven't heard anything, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to know for sure, because they usually do that, and I didn't hear him say that, and it dawned on me when I was
I
reading
know he
this.
talked to them and they were in favor of it. I don't know if it was done in their actual meeting format, but we can find out for tomorrow.
If they had contacted them, that's all I want to know.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Memo 30324, if either city manager or maybe Allison could answer that. So what we've had previously, what's kind of been meeting has been the Grand Prairie Water Commission Working Group, and then this would have established the commission as a full entity after passing this ordinance.
That's correct. Allison?
Yes, so the group has been meeting, acting as the Grand Prairie Water Commissions for the past 2 years, but we formally could not become a legal entity until all of the communities received their Lake Michigan allocations, and so that has been done, and we have now agreed upon these documents that will officially form the commission as a legal entity. But otherwise, everything will proceed as it has been. Now it's just a legal entity.
Right. And the other municipalities are passing similar ordinances.
Yes.
Also at the same time now.
Yes, Shanahan and Crest Hill have it on their agenda tonight, and then the other communities have it on their agendas for the next 2 weeks. We do anticipate the official formation date would be June 28th.
Good. Thank you.
Mayor, Councilman, you may be interested, tomorrow, Allison, I already discussed it, which is going to give an abbreviated presentation
Mhm.
that we had at the full committee meeting, so you'll get even more questions answered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, moving on to resolutions. Council Memo 30624, resolution authorizing execution of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Joliet and the Joliet Junior College Police Department. Council Memo 30724, resolution appropriating motor fuel tax funding for the Richmond Street roadway improvement project. This is just the resolution to approve the funding that we talked about earlier. Council Memo 30824, resolution authorizing approval and execution of a real estate sales agreement and an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Shorewood for the purchase of real property. This is for our alternative water source program as well. Council Memo 30924, resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the Joliet Arsenal Development Authority and acceptance of a $75,000 grant to fund an economic analysis, which is Urban 3 that we spoke about earlier as well. And finally, Council Memo 31024, resolution appropriating Rebuild Illinois bond funds for the Chicago Streetscape, City Square, and Water Main Improvement Project in the amount of $2,501,760 will be pulled from the agenda for the same reason I stated before, which is we have some pre-qualifications issues that we need to work out with IDOT. So we will come back to you at a later date on this.
Mayor?
Yes.
question, on the JJC, on the Joliet Junior College, intergovernmental agreement, why suddenly do they, that we've not done this before, am I correct?
I'm going to have Chief Evans come up. He did speak about it at the last city council meeting. This is the one where they'll be doing overnight, because rarely does JJC get calls overnight, and they have 24-hour service, and often Joliet police back them up anyway. So I'll let the chief explain, but this will be us entering into agreement that will help them with
Yes, sir.
overnights.
This agreement only exists from the hours of 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. At that time, there'll be no police coverage on campus. So we would volunteer to answer any calls during the hours of 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. on a nightly basis. However, there's only been 2 calls a year during that time frame. So we were not looking at any extra baggage or anything like that. And we already have an agreement with them. They do have 2 members on our task force. So we already have a partnership developing there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sure, Chief. So, but I understand for 4 hours they don't have anybody on, you know, their shifts, the way they work out. How come now and not, say, 5 years ago and 10 years? You know, I'm curious.
I think their perspective was that they were keeping 2 police officers on midnights there with absolutely nothing to do.
Oh, so they'll be eliminating that.
They'll be eliminating not the police officers, they'll be moving the those police officers to more busier shifts because they simply just don't have any the overhead to keep 2 people on midnight shift doing absolutely nothing. They will have CSOs on campus. Those CSOs are community service officers, are part of the college. They will be patrolling the lots. We will not be patrolling the lots for them. The CSOs, as part of the JJC, will be doing that.
So we'll be responding only, not
We
patrolling.
would just be responding to any calls, which we normally would do anyway. So, in an assist fashion, if JJC had officers that were still there.
And the reason I ask all these questions for everybody to understand is, if we're setting, you know, are we setting a precedent that other pseudo or you know, public entities want to do it and we're not charging any fee? Well, other ones say, hey, you did it for JJC. Can you do ours too? That's more of a policy question.
Yeah, you know, I think at some point every yes has to be met with a no. So I think in this case I felt comfortable doing it because I don't even think they've had a call yet this year during those hours. So we are going to go ahead and take their calls if there are any calls. And like I said, they average about 2 calls a year during that time frame.
So every yes is met with, has to be met.
Every yes eventually meets
I want to
with
send
a
you
no.
to Washington. We need people like you in Washington right now.
You can only say yes so much, and then you know, if it isn't a situation that benefits us, we do have a good relationship with their police department. We do have members of their police department that are assigned to our SOS team and our negotiators. So this is a relationship that we've already established with the JJC police.
And one last question, what 911 system are they on? The county or?
They're on ours.
They're on ours already?
Yeah, they will have a dispatcher on campus, an independent dispatcher, but their calls are routed through Joliet Police Department before they're transferred to the dispatcher at JJC. So there'll be no mechanical issues or no communication issues involved in this either.
And did I hear you correctly, 2 calls for a year in that time frame?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Hopefully
2
it
calls
stays
a
the
year.
same. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you,
Well,
Chief.
if it doesn't, we can always get out of it because we've put in the agreement that either party can leave the agreement at any time as long as there's 90-day notice. I don't anticipate any problems with it at all.
So for every yes, there might be I changed my mind.
Yeah, yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is public comments, and is there anyone that would like to make a public comment? Seeing none, we actually do have a request for closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to adjourn, or to go into closed session, I'm sorry. Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Yes, no, yes.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye. And no, Chief, you're not going to Washington. You'll have to stay here.